So I went to college. I was going to go to medical school. I studied cell and molecular biology, and I wanted to be a clinical researcher or physician. And I went through my whole undergrad planning on going in that direction, took the MCAT, and went through the whole med school application process, which is a ton of fun. And then at the end of it all, I really decided that I wasn't sure that I wanted to go down that path. So I decided to take a little bit of time off, and I had a friend who was coming up to Alaska and knew some folks up here, and she asked me to come with her. So I got a chance to come up here and get away from all of the pressures of family and everything else that had been surrounding me for a while, and mostly I just hiked and biked and fished and waited tables. And then I decided that I was going to stay up here for a little bit and not go back to school. So I spent 3 years skiing in Girdwood, Alaska, and working at the ski resort there, which was absolutely fantastic. And I definitely was as good as I was going to get at skiing at the end of that. It's only been downhill from there. But after a few years of that, I really wanted to get back into biology. So I moved to Anchorage and I started going back to school for ecology, which was inspired in large part by being in Alaska. If you're going to study ecology, this is a pretty good place to do it. There's no shortage of places to study and things to study, as this work on the polar bear shows. And so I went and did my graduate work here at UAA, and during the course of my, I was working in Greenland studying carbon cycling and ecosystem ecology, and how changing temperature and changing snowpacks might affect the ecosystems, the plant systems, and how they cycle carbon in the high Arctic. And during the course of that work, I ran some of my own samples for stable isotope analysis at the lab here at UAA, and I kind of became fascinated by the mass spectrometers and the instruments that did the work that was giving me my data. So I ran more and more of my samples, and then after I was done with my graduate work, I was asked to stay on as a technician, and ever since then I've been huddled over these instruments in the lab trying to make sure that they don't break down, and running samples for other people and myself, and producing data for other scientists to use in similar work. So that's led me to work with a bunch of different people around Anchorage, at USGS, at the US Fish and Wildlife Service, at a number of different agencies. I get to work with a bunch of different people and see a lot of the science that's going on here, which is one of the best parts of my job. So some of those studies I've been able to get involved in and be a part of the research, which is how the polar bear work started. So now I'm also doing work studying diet of brown bears in Gates of the Arctic National Park and Lake Clark National Park. So I never expected to be a bear ecologist in the get-go, but it's pretty fantastic, and I get to study an animal in a place that is unlike anywhere else, and I'm really, really pretty lucky to be here at the end of the day. So, yeah, and my rationale for getting into ecology is that, I love medicine, and I think it's an incredibly important thing to do, but at the end of the day, if I save 14,000 people or any number, but the environment is still not going to be here, what's it all for? So I decided that trying to help at least a little bit in understanding our world and how we can conserve what we have is something that I really wanted to do. So I get to do it in Alaska, which is about as good as it gets, in my opinion.